stupidest, most inane idea and just made it into 30 seconds now. And now we're talking about it because they've got Salt and Pepper from the 80s, the band that we played tons and tons of, following around regular people while they push the door open, push it real good.
Well, see, that's what I didn't understand. I didn't know until now that what they were singing about was like football players pushing things or people pushing people down the road or just like pushing the envelope. That's the pushing they were talking about. I thought they were talking about something entirely different.
No, it wasn't about that at all. It was about very inane, pushing doors, pushing lawnmowers. It was never push it real good in any kind of teenage hormonal way.
No, like Lady Gaga and her song Poker Face. Finally a good song about gambling. That
absolutely.
Really promotes the advocacy of what gambling can do for you.
See, and this is why we have guests on our show, because the way we begin our shows are always really interesting.
What are you saying? You must be saying this is the beginning of the Bill and Jason Show.
Yeah.
I'm Jason Jones.
I'm
Bill Hermann. And this is the beginning of the show. And what we have to talk about today is an amazing, amazing person that I actually feel privileged that he set aside the time to be able to have a conversation on our silly show.
Same here. I've seen this person speak several times. I never got close enough after the speaking to be able to shake his hand and really ask him anything any more personal than he shares on stage. But I'll tell you something.
Security.
What he shares on stage is really intimate all by itself, but he seems like a really fascinating person, and I'm really excited that he's on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bryan Dodge.
Bryan Dodge, cue the applause. Yay! In-studio applause.
Wow. You guys are going crazy, man.
Yes.
Pepper. I'm not wanting to point out details, but you two have some issues.
What?
Yeah.
I think, Bryan, you just need to listen to the song a few more times.
I know it.
And then
here's what I do love. I love listening to the two of you just dialogue back and forth because that's real. And I also can tell both of you enjoy what you do tremendously.
You know what we call that, Bryan? We call that a listener.
Too many people don't realize how you get where you want to be in life. Just find what you love most in life.
And keep doing it
for the right reasons.
Absolutely.
I've been on radio for 8 years, and you know as well as I do, you can have all the fun you want. You don't know if anybody's listening because all you're doing is looking at a mic and a bird.
Right. Like that one.
Yeah, like that one.
Exactly. If you don't know, we didn't actually say Bryan Dodge is our guest. And Bryan Dodge has been all kinds of things over life, from a top salesman to an extraordinary presenter with an incredible message.
Correct.
And as well as an executive coach and a business coach and a radio show host. I don't know. Do you do all these things at once? I mean, how do you do
how do you manage it? Or do you have a manager?
Or do you have someone who manages for you?
Well, I think that's a good question. Yes, I have a great team. You cannot do what I do by yourself. And I think that's a gift in life. And I always tell people, it's hard for you to teach others to do something you can't do yourself. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make any sense. When I help companies build teams that work harder for when they're not there, well, come meet mine. Come meet mine. Also, when you want to create loyalty and people to stay long term and really enjoy what they do, come meet what I do. And like I always have told you guys, if you ever want to get to really know who I am, just come meet my kids when I'm not around.
Well, see, now we should have had his kids on the show.
Yeah, we need the kid cam is what we really need. The Bryan Dodge kid cam.
You need to do that. Just bring my kids on the show. That would be entertaining.
Well, then before you leave, we're going to set that interview up, I swear.
Right, because what's implied is that they never act up. They're completely compliant. They're not little rebels like Bryan.
Don't be living in la la land. we call them kids for the reason, okay?
Right.
But here's what I do know. You can help others make better choices in life. Every day there's conversations going on in everybody's head. Mm-hmm. We all know that. Yeah. There's the conversation, I can't, I shouldn't, I wouldn't, I'm not good enough, I don't know enough, this doesn't make sense to me, it scares me. And then there's the other conversation that says, why not?
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that quickly gets drowned out by everything else. But then there's like the big list of like crushing complaints that like rain over the brain.
That's where faith comes into play.
Yeah, it does.
See, too many people do things because they expect something in return. I call that an agenda. That means I'm going to an event and I expect that everybody's supposed to be happy and I expect everything's supposed to be perfect. I always tell people, and people really enjoy it. I said, if you want to get to really know me, come to a program where the lights go off, sound go off, everything falls apart, and I still have fun.
Right.
You ever see me in a room with a bunch of people? It's dark. It's entertaining.
Oh yeah, all kinds of possibilities
You've
for
all been
that.
around long enough to know behind mic what happens, and then when the mic turns on, how you look and go, "Wait a minute, is that the same person?"
Right.
So,
Come on,
Bri-
we need to
Brian,
learn to be who we are.
Brian, tell me, you're originally from Colorado, right?
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs, and you grew up there before you moved to Texas. When did you move to Texas?
Born and raised in Colorado Springs, then went to Nebraska.
A Cornhusker.
Full ride scholarship on track, so I'm a big Red fan.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah. And got married when we were 20. Didn't have to. We just loved each other.
Yeah.
And finished college together, her and I, Margaret. And I'd recommend nobody does that. That was tough.
So are you recommending not finishing college? Fall in love? Screw college. You're in love. Your love will get you by.
Really, Jason, you've got to learn to listen.
What?
Don't make your life any harder than it already is, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
So
we
anyway,
have a tendency to do things in life, and you're thinking, what was I thinking? What was I thinking?
So after college, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
right? Like, how did you get so smart? How do you know all this?
Well, I went to school to be a vet.
A veterinarian?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Made your glasses go round, didn't it?
Yeah. Now I want to see how
did-
this like comes together.
And how long did you treat animals for, sir?
It's interesting. And I rodeoed professionally for 2 years after college.
Really?
You rodeoed. So were you a bull rider?
Bull rider was my specialty.
Wow.
Rode bulls for 2 years, and then got beat up really bad in Denver, Colorado, stock show there.
Okay.
Those careers are kind of short usually, aren't they?
Yeah. And I got that motivational talk from my wife.
Really? Okay, so what was that motivational talk from
Yeah,
your wife?
right.
I can probably guess, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Yeah.
It went like this. Either you get a real job, I'm going to get a real husband.
Oh, wow.
I said, honey, don't beat around the bush. Get to the point.
Right. What are you really saying?
What are you really saying in that? She knew. She gave me my shot. I was good enough to pay for the gas. I wasn't good enough to make a living. And so, fortunately, I do care about people. Mm-hmm. You can't hide that.
Right.
You can indicate that in a short amount of time, but over time exposes everybody. Mm-hmm. And I really do. I mean, sometimes it hurts, but I do. And so I had some really good people that followed me around, were fans and supportive. And make a long story short, a guy came up to me and says, "So you ready for a job?" I said, "Yeah, that would be a yes." And he said, "You're hired." That's all he said. "You're hired."
Okay.
And then what was the job? That would have been my next question.
He was one of the VPs of Eli Lilly.
Oh, wow.
Didn't even know. He was just a fan.
So he was a rodeo fan.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what was the job?
I went to work for Eli Lilly, which was a subsidiary of theirs called Elanco.
Right.
And that was in the animal science production area.
Speaking of animals, my dog is
There you
scratching the carpet, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
completely
he's over there
appropriate
having
this
all
is all
kinds of
happening.
No, it's not me at all.
And not to bore everybody to death, but to make a long story short, I went to work for Elanco, and he knew I had animal science background. He knew I loved animals. He knew that I studied that. He said, "You'd be a perfect fit." So it was hilarious. I said, "So where am I going to be working?" He says, "In Sioux City, Iowa."
Okay.
So you had to move.
Yeah, from Elbert, Colorado, which is outside of Colorado Springs,
Right.
to Sioux City, Iowa. And have you ever been to Sioux City, Iowa?
I drove through there
yes.
once.
It took, yes, I have been in Sioux City, and there's a lot there to really excite the mind and heart and spirit.
It's very heartland.
Corn. There's corn there.
And for the very imaginative, it's really exciting.
I would love to have seen Bill's face when he was saying that. Iowa has got the greatest people in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Man, we're talking greatest. I mean, they are such wonderful
All 7 of
people.
them.
And I tell you, I loved living there. I got friends for a lifetime.
Yep.
Pork chops like nothing you've ever seen. But when it gets cold, it gets dang cold.
Mm-hmm.
Well, make a long story short, ended up first couple years. I worked. I'm a hard worker. I like a good day of work. I was raised with a good day of work. I got no problem putting in time. I got no problem putting in energy. So my territory kept moving, but not enough based on my energy and effort I was putting in. And the guy says, "You just don't know how to close."
Okay, so you were selling.
I
You were
was
selling
selling
for Eli Lilly.
To all the feedlots and all the
Okay.
big co-ops and all the people. And
Sure.
so you don't know how to close. And I said, I don't want to be a pushy salespeople. I don't like pushy salespeople. So I said, I started studying. And to make a long story very short, I learned what I was missing in the communicational process, but I never lost my heart. for loving to help them make better choices.
Right.
Sure.
And ended up in that next year breaking a record that still stands today. I was the youngest MAC Award winner in Elanco, and took my territory, I think it's about 3 million to almost 14 million.
Wow. So what was the secret? Are we getting to that part?
Well, the secret is just learning how to do what you love, do better. If it's not working, it doesn't always, the solution of that is not working harder.
Mm-hmm.
The solution of that is not getting angry at the customer.
Right.
The solution is looking in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Looking in the mirror and saying to yourself, you know what? I'm doing something wrong. I can be better. And I started reading. And I started reaching out. See, I was not brought up, but I was felt because I had some learning challenges early in life to where asking for help is a sign of weakness.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. See, and that's just the opposite of the truth. Asking for help is a sign of strength. And so I started asking help, but I asked from people that were successful, and I was uncomfortable with that at the beginning. So I started reaching out and asking for help for people who are successful, and they gave me great advice. And all I did was take the advice, and then make an even long story even shorter. We sat down, and they said, we're going to send you to Indianapolis, Indiana. You're now on the fast track, and here's where you're going to be in 5-10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my wife, and I said, I don't want a cubicle. I want to be with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did the Ben Franklin on a wall, pros and cons.
Right.
We decided at that point, she says, if everything you learn helped you so much,
Right.
can you imagine what that would do for everybody else that really started with more than you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fact. So we
So
thought.
it was your
education-
wife who thought that you should be a teacher then.
Well, exactly. And standard education will get you jobs, self-education make you fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, how can we work with this? And I said, I can't. How can we do that? So we started developing a concept. Instead of taking you guys out of your work environment, away from home to go study for 2 weeks, which you don't have time to do to begin with.
Right.
What we did is we brought the education to you. And that was the beginning of the live seminars, not the rallies, but the seminars.
Okay.
And we found different models of getting people to do that. And one of the models we found worked in Minneapolis, Minnesota, is we'd come in and do a free workshop for managers for companies.
Oh, sure.
And they would get excited about the material, sign up for the speaker we're bringing in. That's where it all started. And I started a company called Results, built it to over 165 full-time employees, putting on seminars and education all around the industry. And I made everybody a promise, the 48-hour law, which I live by day. If you don't like what your people just paid to see, I'll give your money back within 48 hours. So I'd call them up and they'd say, well, they didn't like him. The guy just wanted to sell and all that kind of stuff. I said, okay, I'll have a check on your desk. He said, no. He said, when you came out and spoke, my people said that was worth it. Would you come back? And that's where it began, to where I never in my life, which is interesting, I never wrote down a goal, I want to be a speaker. I never wrote down I want to be an author. I never wrote down no goals. You know what my goal was? I want to serve people. So however I get there, let life tell me my best way. And then I learned to not be comfortable. I remember when ABC came to me and said, we want you to do a radio show. God, I wish I had time to tell you that whole story.
Yeah.
Guy came, saw me speak in Dallas, and he says, you'd be perfect on radio. I said, oh, no, that's not for me, man. So they went to ABC, and he walked in the boardroom, and all the guys were sitting around. He says, I've got a guy. And they go, well, you want to do it? We're not going to do it. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. He said, no, Bryan Dodge. Well, see, I had worked with those guys for 10 years putting on seminars.
Oh, sure.
So they knew me. I knew them. We were friends. They said, can you get Dodge to come in? He goes, I think so. He said, whatever hour he wants, he can have it.
Wow.
And that's what happened. And I was totally nervous. I mean, I always say, if you're not nervous, and I'm speaking to the heart of the people that go to events and give the event life, beat the enemies. You know, so many of these weddings, there's so many things that doesn't matter, gets in the way of what matters. A good DJ can get all the things that doesn't matter out of the room and bring in the energy in the room that gives love and happiness and passion to the future of family and friends. That's what they do. That's why when I show up, oh boy, you better buckle up.
Well, it's funny you say that. It was one of the things we talk about with our workshop and seminar, Jason and I, the entertainment experience is around the ownership of taking the event on like it is your complete responsibility,
Like
and
everything that
the
happens.
integrity of standing in what you deliver. In like you said, that delivery, that integrity delivery around if you don't get what you got or didn't get what you were expecting, we don't want to be paid for it. We're here in service to an industry, to these people, and if in fact something does not work out, you don't think you got what you wanted, it's really about you anyway. So the integrity is, now I'm going to stand in that ownership integrity. Now I'd like to shift gears a little bit, because one of the things that you talked about just a little while ago is some of the struggles you had as a young man. I know from your speeches that you dealt with ADHD. I deal with it still today. I know that you still deal with it today, and I know that a lot of people in the entertainment business itself sees that, and they see, we can look at what you're doing now, and because you have a large company and a lot of people and lots of things going on. But was there a place and a time in your life that you looked at that struggle and saw that as something that was something you could not overcome, and then found a way to do that?
What'd you say?
I said there's a duck above your head. It's amazing.
Hey, all I know is this: we're all given our gifts,
Yes, we are.
and I've chosen not to call it an excuse. When I coach kids, I used to take them to 7-Eleven, and I'd say, "Kids, here's where we're gonna play this game, little kids." And I'd say, "The first one I can find the word used most in here, I'll buy you a Slurpee." So I'd let them go. It wouldn't take them a few minutes, and one would go, "Got it, coach, I got it." What is it? Energy. Energy drinks, energy bars, energy pills. It's a billion dollar industry.
Right.
Right, like everybody needs it.
So I
or tries to
look at
find
the
it.
kids. I look at the kids, and I said, all of you that have all that energy, I guess what you have, everybody wants. Now, get it under control. Get it under control. Stop using it as an excuse. Use it as your gift. And it is your choice. And I'm a living example. No, I don't take any medicine. I believe in exercise. I believe in eating right. I believe in following my behaviors. Like, for an example, there's certain things that I eat that I lose my ability to really focus well. Fruit is one of them. Unfortunately, they color the dye on the color of the fruit affects me differently. So you just need to learn, pattern yourself, and say, why was it today I was so focused and yesterday I wasn't? What did I eat? What did I do? Because those kind of factors are things you can control. And Bill, it's an excellent question for you to ask in regards to how did I break through those challenges in my
That's
life.
exactly what I wanted to know.
Right, was
How
there a
did I
turning
break
point,
through?
or was it gradual?
I finally accepted them.
Yeah.
I finally accepted them. I accepted me. I'm not the smartest I'm not the smartest one in the class. I accepted the fact that if you study, Jason, for an hour and get an A, I'm going to study for 6 hours to get a B. But my A is my B. You follow me?
I do.
I'm not you. You're not me. And once you realize who you are, then if you'll find what you love most and stay doing it for the right reasons, life will reward you. For an example, the radio, I never asked to be on radio. They asked me. The book, The Good Life Rules, I didn't call McGraw-Hill. They called me. 80% of my bookings are referral based. So all I do is I love to help people. Isn't that what DJs love?
It sure is. It sure, you know, and
DJs have the same heart I have. We have a heart of a servant.
absolutely.
We
Absolutely.
love to go into environments and make people smile and dance. I know I've been in enough weddings and I've seen when there's a bad one. And you know what? That's not right. Because you have to understand that's a moment. People ask me all the time, Bill, and that's this. I seen you speak in front of 30,000 people.
Right.
And I saw you speak in front of 15. I didn't see a different you. Just because it's a small event didn't at all dictate what you bring to it. If you only need a lot of people to be your best, then that tells me everything about you. If you're your best, I don't care if there's 1 or 1,000 people, that tells me everything about you. Because that's how you become a better you.
Right, which leads me to the question of like I a lot of times when performers, especially DJs, or really any performers, there's a conversation around like, okay, I gotta turn it on or be on, or when they're on or off. There's this kind of mindset of being on and off, and for you. Is there ever a mindset of like, okay, I'm on. I am Bryan Dodge, speaker. Okay, now I'm
or is it
Bryan
something
Dodge, dad. Like you're different when you're a dad than you are when you're presenting. Or have you discovered a way to be the same Bryan Dodge everywhere you go and everyone you interact with? Does it work that way? Or can you speak to that? You know, because I think with the experience that people have.
When I walk on stage, Jason, the one thing I have to do is say to myself, I can only be 60% of me.
What does that mean?
I can't be all me because I scare too many people.
What?
Okay. When I did radio for the first time, I asked them, I said, can I just be me? After the first show, you know, they're all sitting behind the glass windows, and they all said, great show, but not all you, okay? You're going to have to back down. I just did a program in Seattle, and it was so funny. I'm in the elevator, and we're having a great time, and there's all these people, and I was playing the game. You going up, and we're going down. We're having and little did I know, everybody in the elevator was in the program I was going to speak at.
Right.
Okay, so when I walked in the room, that was the whole talk. They said, "Man, you think he's there? You ought to see him in an elevator."
Right. This guy's kooky.
Here's my reality. If you love what you do, you never have to pretend to be able to do it. If you are who you are, then you don't have to ever worry about what you do and don't have to remember it because you are who you are and you say what you say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about a long-term memory because what I say is what I say. I don't make up things.
Right.
So, and the most important thing that I would really want to reach in the hearts of everybody that would have a chance, and I would be honored for them to just listen to this. Get to a point in life where you finally say, I've had enough. I've had enough of not believing in me. I've had enough of not realizing I have more than I ever need to do everything I've ever wanted to do. And I've had enough of giving myself more excuses than opportunities. And I've had enough of feeling sorry for myself. Because let me introduce you to somebody that you should feel sorry for, and it ain't you.
Yeah, I'll tell you, just having you around just for a little while, and once again, kind of brings back all of that wonderful energy and love that you bring to everything you do and everything you talk about. And I don't even know if we brought up once again, he is going to be at Mobile Beat Las Vegas,
right?
And it's going to be amazing.
You got that
right. Can't wait to get Vegas, huh?
He's going to be. Speaking of, this is perfect because he was talking about early in his days and the experience, and they said, Bryan, you just got to learn how to close. Well, now he became the closing master, and he's going to close the show.
It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be really, really kind of like dun dun, which is like perfect. That's what you want at the end of the show to be. So like.
Are you going to be? Do you know if you're coming in a little earlier than that day so people can look for you and try to?
Find
just
you in the elevator.
Kind of do find you in the elevator, yeah, or just do a Waldo search for you while you're around the Las Vegas Strip.
Yeah, absolutely. I made a point to do that because there's a lot of friends in your industry that I know. I call them my friends,
right?
And I plan on we've already talked a little bit. We're going to get together. I plan on mingling around and meeting people I've never met before because guess what? That moment's not about me. And by the way. That moment I'm on stage ain't about the industry. I don't really care about the industry. The reason I'm there is for the greatest asset that exists in the industry, and that happens to be the people sitting in that room.
Absolutely.
And my goal is to get them to fall back in love with what they do as if it was the first day they ever did it. Because when that happens, not by motivation, Bill, you know what I always say about motivation?
I do.
If you take an idiot and you motivate him, you got a
motivated idiot. You got a motivated idiot, baby.
No. We're talking about inspiring these DJs to put forth the best they've ever put forth. And guess what they're going to get rewarded by? Abundance.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the heart.
Everything they ever wanted.
In the business. Too many people don't realize the biggest enemy we have is the face in the mirror.
Yep.
Right.
got to stop it.
That little voice.
I cannot wait to see you again, my friend.
I can't wait for the presentation. We can keep him on the scavenger hunt list.
No, there you go.
This is going to be just perfect. Anybody who sees the show,
Brian
is
will
gonna
have pockets full of candy. So if you find him, just rifle through whatever he has.
Right.
Yeah. Where's Waldo?
That's right. That's right. Only it's Brian. Brian, thanks so much for taking time. Boy, just having you on the show is inspirational. I think I'm
really
going to play
is.
this show back every morning when I get up in the
You
morning.
think?
I think.
You think?
I think.
Put it
Make
this
a
way.
goal,
What an
mister.
honor. I would only leave with this, and that is this. Make sure that you focus on the things you can control. That's not a cliche. That's a reality. And second is, there are a lot of people that want you to focus on the things you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to ask yourself why.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a
So
big
now
question. That's a
people have
whole other
tendency
show.
People have a tendency to engage when they realize they're in the battle.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the battle. We're in the battle. So that's what I say. Let's win it. And then I leave with my favorite 3 words: bring energy home.
That's awesome.
Brian
That's
Dodge,
awesome.
thank you again for being
Brian.
a part of the Bill and Jason show. Oh my goodness, Don, we gotta top this again. Every one of these shows are getting better and better and
The
better.
best show ever.
Now, if you haven't looked for us on Facebook, go and like us on Facebook. If you haven't tweeted us on Twitter, be sure to do that. Brian, where can they find you?
You just go to BryanDodge.com.
Yeah.
And you can find him in Las Vegas in February for Mobile Las Vegas.
And there's all kinds of creative ways you can stalk him online. It's just
Hosted
a
by the
beautiful
Bill
thing.
and Jason show.
All right.
Awesome.
Until next week, so long.
Broadcasting from high atop planet Earth at a rate of 96 kilobytes sample per second over the interweb in an effort to stop glorifying being busy. This has been an entertainment experience production.